Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our webinar this morning. Excited to see everybody. We're talking about obviously a very topical topic, as you know, there's been a great deal of uncertainty in the economy in the last let's say in this year, the last 6 months, the last 2 quarters. Obviously, there's been a lot going on with the tariffs and whatnot. So we're going to get into that, dive right into that, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But thanks for joining us this morning. Um, just by way of introduction, my name is Mike Jennings, and I'm the VP of Strategic Growth at Goose Digital. And we are Canada's leading digital marketing firm, and we specialize in marketing automation platforms for manufacturers as one of our sectors. And with me today is our guest speaker, John Prydish, President, CEO of Success Partners. And John, you want to introduce yourself real quick too?
Sure. Over 35 years of ERP experience, enterprise resource planning, focused on manufacturing. We're an Epicor global partner, and we have lots of experience helping companies navigate these challenging times. And that's what today's topic is. So looking forward
Sure.
to this, Mike.
Thanks, John. Great to be working with you again. So one of the things, I'm just going to back up here. I'll just show you a little quick agenda here. So we are going to talk just a little. John and I just going to have a little bit of conversation about the pressures that are going on in the marketplace right now. A little bit about maturing your ERP and getting good data and how to mine that data, and of course how to use that intelligently in your marketing. And then some funding possibilities near the end. Couple of quick housekeeping notes that we are recording this session, and that we will share not only the recording but also the slides from this presentation to all those that signed up to attend. And we hope you get lots of use out of it. But if you have any questions, we'll save them to the end. So please make a note, and then we'll talk about them at the end. So let's just get right into it. So one of the first things that we're going to talk about, obviously, is the daunting construction, manufacturing, and distribution issues that are going on right now in the industry. Obviously, with the president administration in the U.S., there's a great deal of uncertainty. As we know, just even recently, steel and aluminum tariffs went from 25 to 50%, and who knows where they're going to be tomorrow. They keep jumping around, and we've seen a great deal of anxiety in those particular industries. Fabrication, one of our clients is in construction, but they're using steel fabricated buildings, and so their situation has been up and down as well. And so there's just a lot of that uncertainty, is putting the brakes on making decisions until they kind of see where the dust settles. John, what have you been seeing yourself from kind of other things? Like, I know we talked a lot about, you and I have talked about rising costs and labor shortages. What have you been seeing on your side of the manufacturing?
It very much is delaying the decision process for a lot of companies. And so one of the biggest challenges when we're hit with something of a surprise like this is we all freeze in the moment. And there are things that you can do. And I guess that's what today is to talk a little bit about. But once you get over the fact that this is happening and it's out of our control, you don't actually have control. So how do you adapt, right? So adapting and figuring out how to figure out ways to navigate this uncertain time, and also pinpointing, the information. And now more than ever, this data, this digitization of your operations becomes really valuable. So the smart money for many of my clients and the companies that are seeking us out for services and products has been, they really need to get control, because I heard somebody, they had to hire someone to figure out, one of our prospective clients hired somebody to figure out the impact of the tariffs. Now, in contrast, an existing client of ours would be able to run a report and get to, push button information. And that's what digitizing really does. It gets you, I guess it puts that data to work for you. It's because it's structured, it's in a database, and it's trusted. And so therein lies the challenge. Every company, nothing's perfect out there. Everybody's on a journey to improve. Data is becoming more and more valuable as we head toward AI, but even just navigating these current situations.
Yeah, that's what I said. One thing I've seen too, and I think we talked a little bit about it, is the whole idea of how mature is the company. And I've noticed that even companies that have been around for decades are still very digitally immature, and they tend to be reactive and scramble when this kind of stuff happens, even though it's not the first time this kind of thing happens. This is not the first time we've had uncertainty in the market. We can go, in 2009, 2010, we can go back to, even 5 years ago when we were having all kinds of stuff with COVID, right? So there's always going to be something, and roughly every 5 or 7 years, we're going to have some kind of uncertainty in the market. But I found that the mature companies, even when they're maybe a newer company, like a 2 or 3 year old company, but they're digitally mature, have a real thumb on their data, and they know the thumb on the pulse of their data, and they know what's going on, and so they can, react better. They can make smarter decisions better. They don't overspend, underspend, not spend, and that's what we find. The companies that are able to make, shrewd decisions quickly, adjust quickly, are agile. Those are the companies that actually do well and come out of the, we won't call it a recession, but come out of the uncertainty much faster and even stronger, and tend to leave the competition even further behind. And I've seen that happen with many of our clients that are well structured that way. The gap just gets even bigger, because those that were maybe nipping at their heels 6 months ago are now falling way off, because they just don't have their digital act together and their data together. And now those that do are able to rocket forward from there.
And Mike, I have a prediction. I mean, it's been said before that data is an asset to a company. It's decision support, it's information, and now more than ever, as we're saying this. But I would also say that I think there's going to be a time, as there is this concept of technical debt. If you don't have the systems to attract talent, to support your customers, to know your costs, or to navigate these times, I believe there's going to be a time where data and systems are going to be on a balance sheet of sorts. A
Yeah.
valuation of a company is related to how well they can navigate, how well they can assess
Oh, that's
the
very true.
information.
Like, we work with mergers and acquisition firms even now, and they come to us where they have a customer that's trying to sell, but their website or their digital footprint, if you want to call it, is so bad or out of date or misleading that it lowers their value very drastically, because the new owner is not going to realize, okay, I got to come in there, I got to gut the website, I've got to bring in a CRM, I've got to bring in marketing automation, I got to bring in all these things that I have already in my own company that I want any of my companies to be working with. And if I'm going to do that, this is going to cost me something. So it's no different if you're trying to sell a house, but your roof is leaking. You either fix the roof, or you give them a $50,000 discount for them to fix the roof when they come in, right? So
Exactly.
it's kind of like the same kind of thing. Anyway, I think we at the point. I think it's a very interesting thing to look at. And the one thing that you mentioned too is on the digital lag side is that I think that in some ways, some of the other countries in Europe particularly are even more are sharper on that kind of thing in some ways. And I find that when we're competing with them, that you're going to find that now that we got global pressures and tariff pressures everywhere, there's going to be even more global pressure. As you know, the Canadian government's been looking to make relationships with other countries around Europe and Asia, and then with interprovincially. And again, those that are more usually mature and have their act together are going to be able to take advantage of it much more quickly. So anyway, so let's have a little quick conversation about this, John. One of the things that we've talked about a lot, you and I, over the years, is that you have to. It's not a matter of surviving; it's more, can you thrive? And we've talked about that already. But does a company already have ERP, CRM, and the marketing tools in place? And are they using them to their full advantage? I know you and I have talked about, I think you used the word platform erosion or software erosion, where they bought a platform, they bought an ERP, they bought, I don't know, say a marketing automation platform, HubSpot or something like that. They bought it, they installed it, and barely used it, or didn't use it to its capabilities, or haven't updated the platform. They don't even know what they have. So we find that that's often a step that can be taken initially, that, hey, you got stuff in place, let's use it, or replace it with something that's more up to date. And then not just doing random acts, what we call random acts of marketing, like, oh, I haven't done any marketing for a while. I'll just blast out a whole bunch of money on Google ads and hope people show up. Or I'll pull up my 2-year-old database that I haven't looked at and hope the emails are good and start blasting out emails to people and wonder why half of it bounces back. So I know and your side, you must come into a lot of the whole tech stack issues too on the ERP and the operational side.
Definitely. And I think oftentimes people look at business processes and things like CAD and CRM as point solutions. What ERP does is it really pulls it together in a manner that looks at it from an integrated model, right? And if we're talking about marketing, somebody visits your website, that should pop up as a lead in your CRM. And when it's a lead in your CRM, when you drive an opportunity to which maybe you're a manufacturer, you need to quote something. Well, you need to get your quote together based on products. All of this can work in conjunction, and that's where it works as a well-oiled machine that's efficient, and it saves time and people time, which is really important for most companies trying to stay lean out there. And this is no longer a big company solution. There are startups that we meet, and they're looking to get this automated extensively day one. And
Yeah, I know
why
that.
hire? Why hire extra people? Get right into it and automate it.
Well, I know you and I worked on that customer together back in the early days of COVID that were, doing the old, as we used to say in the COVID days, we're pivoting. Remember pivoting? And had that client that was manufacturing parts and they pivoted to manufacturing masks, but
Hmm.
they were able to pivot very quickly and switch over machines and bring in some other machines into a space that they had, and then able to immediately use their ERP system to help blow that up and get that going really quickly and get on the market really quick within months rather than years.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So, excuse me, John, I'm gonna throw to you now while we're talking about ERP. Why don't we throw to you and let you kind of walk through what you're seeing in the market from an ERP perspective and how ERP can help those people in their challenges and their overcoming what we're going through right now in this kind of unsure market. So I'm gonna unshare and let you share, John, and we'll let you take control from here, and then we'll come back to me when you've gone through your day.
Great. Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so just sharing here. And I'm going to give you a presentation that I recently gave to an Epicor conference, approximately 4,000 customers there. And really, it's navigating challenging times with ERP. Quick, who is Success Partners? We've been around since 2007. And our job in the world of ERP is to really help companies get value out of the technology. And in fact, when you really look at it closely, it's not about the technology, it's about people, helping your people develop growth-oriented and sustainable processes that tame the technology. And so, ERP, and I'll give you a quick primer on, what is the scope of ERP, but we're over 60 staff. We're in the US and Canada, and we've implemented over 400 customers with this tool that has been around. Technically, ERP has been around for over 50 years. And we still have companies that just weren't aware that they can integrate and lean out their business and make it efficient. So just a quick glance of where our customers are at, obviously across Canada, but also the US. This is some of where our staff are located. So we are spread out and around the market, the manufacturing market in North America. So just, a quick, how ERP best practices can help you challenge through these challenging times. This is unfortunately not a great graphic. It was a video, but this showed how many people it took to change tires on a Formula One car. And I think I counted over 12 people that were helping out here. I had the chance, just as a sense of lean and the current conditions moving from the 80s to the present day. I saw a Formula One in Montreal a couple years back, and it was literally 3 seconds. I'll spare you the video, but this was just four or five people waiting for the car to show up. And so, what is
Your timing
ERP?
couldn't be better with the F1 movie coming out in a few weeks too with Brad Pitt.
Exactly. Yeah, in
Did
fact,
you sponsor that movie?
small point, Epicor's the manufacturing software that helps factories build F1 cars. So in particular, Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri, which is, I believe is now Visa Cash Card. Um,
Very cool.
Anyway, what is ERP? I mean, from, CRM and quoting and estimating and customer service through to production planning and supply chain, right through to managing people, managing finance, and integration with CAD and machinery. It can be a big scope. And really, it's about crawl, walk, run. The concept that it's not something you just turn everything on all at once. It's about a journey. So it's a journey of continuous improvement for our customers who are looking to lean out and run the business more effectively. But one of the things that ERP doesn't necessarily do really well is that whole marketing platform side. And that's why speaking here today, we're going to, as we wrap this up near the end, Mike and I are going to talk a little bit about where this value add of marketing and integration with marketing campaigns and how that turns into opportunities that salespeople and customer service departments can run with.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all about the critical data and you're what I think we hope you're going to develop this graphic and I think what's key about this is what you said, John, is that someone even maybe coming new to ERP looks at this goes, oh my goodness, like that's overwhelming. But as you said, crawl, walk, run. I think uh every important journey starts with that first step, and I think that there's ways that you can look at and prioritize what gets done first, second, third. I
exactly.
think a lot of companies will find that there's obviously probably some synergies of stuff they've already got in place or can pull up relatively easily that can make its way into an ERP like Kinetic and be up and running pretty quickly. It's not
Yeah.
it's not
Oh,
building an office tower from scratch type of thing.
right. And ultimately, manufacturers need to cost track and schedule their business, right? So how do I take an order? How do I price it?
Yeah,
How do I track it through the cycle to delivery? And how do I ensure that we're making money at any given time?
right.
So you can water it down to the very simple, and it's inventory and purchasing and invoicing and shipping. But from there, companies start to branch out into quality management, CAD integration, and managing the top of the funnel is just the start of that,
Yeah,
which we'll come back to. So, one of the things that's really important to a lot of our customers, though, is how do we navigate these times? And so, the state of manufacturing today is, yes, we've got these challenges, and they're not new. As you heard, we've had these challenges before, but it's harder to forecast. The lead times are longer, and pricing pressures exist. Well, these aren't new challenges. These are things that ERP is designed to handle. So now more than ever, ERP becomes your control tower to run the business. And so when we say ERP was built for times like this, it's really best practices. So it was founded on APIX and CAPIX, which is the American Inventory and Production Control Society's best practices. It has decades of experience built in. And so you can leverage this fast learning in terms of you could learn through trial and error, or you could quickly adopt processes that make sense for where you are at your size of company to streamline rather than asking everybody what they want to do and having many people argue about what they've experienced or not, or protecting their spreadsheets. It really helps you automate standard processes, and it helps surface and show you where some of the exceptions exist. So, why is this job over cost? Oh, well, the last time we bought the steel, it was more costly. Well, that's a simple example, or it might have taken more labor, and maybe we need to do more training, or maybe we need to look at what's going on in the shop floor. So it really understanding, like a dashboard, indicating where the challenges are in the business, it enables this fast, informed decision making. So, what are these capabilities? So some of the core capabilities that are really fundamental is that you need to cost your product, right? So what is the standard cost, the actual cost, and how much money are we truly making? A lot of people try to run their small business out of the bank account. If I have enough money at the end of the month, I believe I'm making money, and therefore we're good. Well, that's a bit of a haystack. And guess what? Your customer called, they want to find the needle. They want you to find the needle in the haystack. And so, managing inventory, there's a number of tools to manage min-max, but also, these are reorder points for when you need to buy things and economic order quantities that you stock. You can also look at cycle counts. What are the products that are high value that you must manage? From a production planning perspective, ultimately delivering on value and delivering product at a profitable price and timing is really key. So being able to manage your capacity, see your schedules, and see the impact in real time. And then supply chain. When we think about suppliers, we think about supplier performance. We think about, are they hitting their lead times? They've promised it to come in a week or 2 weeks. Have they ever hit that date? And so you can actually review by supplier, what, not just track the POs, the purchase orders you've made for raw materials, but track their performance against cost and delivery. And so those are some big things that can be very valuable. And then ultimately, because this is one core database, we jokingly call ERP the Excel replacement program as an acronym. It's funny because it puts everything into one database, and where a lot of people had spreadsheets, they've been paying people to craft spreadsheets across departments and rekey things. It really eliminates the data problem of accuracy because we have one shared version of the truth. And if you believe in it, if you support the processes that keep it clean, you can trust that business intelligence data. And so built into the ERP is all kinds of ways to slice and dice and look at analytics related to the product. So if we were to, speak specifically about managing tariffs, there's a couple things that you can do. And again, this can be done without ERP. I'm just going to throw that out there. But the reality is, it's a lot less effort when you have an integrated business system such as ERP. So landed cost, accurately being able to capture the tariff impact per item. Like when you buy something offshore and it's very inexpensive per piece, the true landed cost is that piece price plus shipping, duty, brokerage, freight, all the different things that the touch points, and that cost is the input to your product. And so if you buy it for $1 a piece and it lands here with all burdened in with all those extra costs and it's $10 a piece, well, that's your cost. It may still be effective, it may not, but you need to understand all those layers that go into it so that you can support good decisions. One of the things our clients are looking at is alternate suppliers. If there's a low tariff region, or if there's areas where there's less tariffs, or sourcing locally, depending on the type of product and where you're shipping, you can dual source, or you could just resource. So being able to have a database of who are those suppliers by product, by commodity, and then being able to do a request for quote very efficiently. They could bid on that business, and then being able to turn over purchase orders very quickly and efficiently to them. That can be very valuable. When it comes to understanding your costs, when you look at all of these, inputs from raw materials and labor, etc., being able to do a what if costing scenario can be very valuable to simulate the impact. If scenario A is we just live with these tariffs, or scenario B is maybe we hedge our bet that it could be cut in half, we want to know if we have a competitive product. And we may have to pass some of that on to customers, but either way, we need to understand what it is. And so there's a lot of additional things companies have done, such as this is the price and this is the price with the tariff, and understand where it's coming from. And then negotiating with vendors. There are vendors that will eat tariffs or portions of it and offset some of those costs, but you also need to be able to negotiate with them. And so understanding exactly how much of that material you use, or related materials that supplier, that vendor could possibly provide. Again, data is your friend. Being able to look across these products in a database and see trends, volumes, and bring that book of business and say, you know what, we actually buy X amount, thousands of pieces or pounds or whatever of the raw material that you supply us. What is your best price? We'll commit to an annual amount and we'll release using the tools on a more frequent weekly basis. So ERP is known to provide supply chain resilience. And so, as I mentioned, being able to manage those suppliers, you can manage scorecards. There are alerts that say, hey, you're bringing things in before you need to or late, and it's going to alert you to bring it in and synchronize across your supply chain. So supply and demand is dynamic in a manufacturing business. Customers cancel orders, they expedite, hey, I need to double down on those orders, and that has an impact on you as a supplier and a manufacturer, and therefore being able to quickly adapt. Um, Being able to see through your bills of materials, so a product bill of materials, and being able to drill right down into its subcomponents sounds simple, but in practice, it takes systems, and so being able to quickly see one version of the truth, the most common or up-to-date job or BOM, and what it looks like. A number of companies are using drop shipments as another opportunity, so they can bypass warehousing where needed. But I thought I would leave you with about 5 things you can do right now, and this was focused on our customers, but it does have some universal value. So finding money, let's talk about that. There are tools that you can do margin analysis with. Find the products where the margins are shrinking, identify those affected by tariffs, and evaluate, are these things that you can either increase the price with? Is it something that you need to address? Are there more things you can outsource? Managing that inventory, reducing carrying costs, and by not having expedites last minute, we're proactively buying the materials we need and possibly even delaying materials when we don't need them. And so being able to evaluate and classify your inventory. As I mentioned, supplier performance data, take a look and reevaluate those contracts. Look at consolidating and shifting to other sources where necessary. And then there is this concept of an alternate bill of material. The bill of material is the formula or the assembly of making a product. And if there's one way to make it where I subcontract most of it, whereas the other version is we make it mostly in-house. And this can also be used when opening up a US or Canadian site, depending on which side of the border you're on. Many companies are suggesting that I can increase my US or Canadian content by locating an assembly plant or a distribution kitting environment where the last mile before I send that product on, I add some additional labor and some additional local materials to get my content up. So there's a couple things there. And then ultimately measuring, in manufacturing, as with anything, whether it be a smartwatch or a Fitbit or something like that for your weight, nothing really happens unless you're willing to measure it. And so managing something requires data. So, as we wrap this up, ERP partners like ourselves can help. It's a consultative engagement approach. And really, it's about getting into what your case for change, what your challenges are, and working with you to figure out what the best course of action is. So, Mike, I thought I'd leave it there. And there's lots more that can be said, and I know that we have an offer at the end of this for anybody who's interested in looking a little deeper.
Great, John. Thank you. So you can unshare, and I'll take back here. Great. Wait a second here. Go. Great. Are we seeing that now? Seeing the screen now? Okay.
Yep.
Great. So, and forgive me, I'm losing my voice this morning. I've been traveling the last few days, and I don't know, I picked up something, but some scratchy voice. I'm drinking a lot of water as we go here. So, John, you talked a lot about data there, and I'm nodding a lot because it's like so much of what we do from the marketing side is based off of data, and that data has to be good. And so much can happen badly if that data is not good. So, for example, in Canada, be the Canadian anti-spam legislation, and If your data is bad, you get a bunch of bounced emails coming back to you, then you're going to run into all kinds of problems, and you could even be fined for some of that stuff. So it's really important that the data be good. And so, you know, I think we both realize how important clean data coming from your ERP and your CRM, and you know, most ERPs and Epicor included, there is usually a CRM involved. A lot of times, though, there could be a CRM that is connected to your ERP, like a Salesforce, for example, connected natively to your ERP, so the data is flowing in there. And so what we want to do then is, once we have that data, is that we want to be able to segment that data into different ways of looking at it. So we want to look at things like service history and sectors that are underserved and past purchases. And do we have customers that maybe, excuse me, order one or two things a year versus are ordering things on a daily basis? How engaged are those customers with you? You know, do you have customers in your database that they may buy one thing a year and that's it? Could we be selling them more? Could we be selling them more products along their life cycle? So, you know, maybe you're selling them something now at the beginning of their life cycle of their product development. Maybe there's other things that you could be selling them further along the way that they don't know that you offer. So it's really important to know where they are. And then by taking that information, we can now have our platforms look at it and help us target what messages are going to go to what people in what stage of the life cycle that they're in with you as a business. A good example of that is, you know, taking what's coming out of ERP, and John, you mentioned a perfect segue there. We talk about you know, the tariffs right now, and you know, the HTS codes that are built into ERP, and knowing where they are and how that's affecting your time, delivery costs, all that kind of stuff. And then, is that making certain products slower in being able to be delivered, higher cost? So then maybe we want to switch our messaging away from those products that we're unable to deliver quickly, or that we're waiting for tariffs to be normalized before we start making. We have several clients that make, you know, obviously a dozen different products. Maybe they turn their emphasis to the ones that are being less tariffed or less stressed by the economy. And as you said, dual sourcing. So maybe you have one company that the sourcing is a challenge, and so you want to sell more of the other product until you've sorted out that sourcing issue. So now, by having that information, we can understand, okay, how fast can product be delivered, and then we can then tailor our marketing messages to the products that we do want to sell, that we know we can deliver quickly, or that we know we can deliver at a better price than the competitor, because they're maybe offshoring versus we're onshoring. And I know what's going on a lot with the Canadian government right now. We're trying to do a lot of interprovincial stuff too, right? So if one of our customers' products are being manufactured solely within Canada, within your provincial sourcing versus outsourcing or offshoring, then we can focus our efforts more on that marketing, and even talk about that in our marketing messaging, that, hey, you know, Canadian built, Canadian manufactured, Canadian assembled, whatever that is. You know, and that's there's a lot of patriotism going on right now in our market, as you know, about where things are and where things are being built. So really helps re-engage with our customers that way. One of the second strategies we like to look at is automating, streamlining, and which just saves time and money, right? I mean, can we automate a lot of the journeys that are being created by salespeople right now? What I mean by that is, okay, someone's talking to a potential customer. They need to follow up in 3 months, 6 months, or they're going through certain things. So much of that can be automated now, so that a marketing automation system will just automate those kind of common outreaches, common follow-ups, common touch points, or, like we like to say, the nurturing of those journeys automatically, without the salesperson picking up a phone or doing that stuff. And then what we do is that we're scoring those leads, we're tracking those leads, understanding who's responding to those automated messages, and seeing, okay, this person's obviously opening our emails, responding to our emails, they're clearly interested. The ones that are not are just still continue dormant. Then the salespeople can turn their attention to those ones that have a high lead score and focus in on those guys, and that's where their time gets best used. Also segmenting them, you know, John, you and I have talked a lot about this, about segmenting your market to the sectors that we think are most active these days, or most active right now. Certain areas are going to be less active or cyclical depending on the season, and so we want to make sure that we're reaching out at a timely basis to those customers that need our services or need to buy products at a certain time of year, and not just marketing blankly over an entire year. So you get a lot better understanding with that when you have a marketing automation platform put in place. Very much like you said with your ERP, you can understand the whole process of, a procurement, inventory, shipping, all that stuff with an ERP. And then marketing automation, if you consider it your ERP for marketing, what that does is allows us to understand what's resonating, what's not resonating, where people are moving to, where they are, and then help build up on that and provide the information to the sales team so they can act on those that are interested and those that are looking for information now. I think you and I have talked about this many times, that people in your business and in my business are doing their homework. 80% of it's done before they ever pick up a phone and have a conversation with somebody. So the more information we have, the more we can retarget them, the more we can understand who they are, the better we can address those prospects quickly and pull them through that whole sales cycle in a more efficient manner. One of the things I like to talk about is what's the modern tech stack look like. And so to your point earlier, John, understanding how ERP works, and for example, Epicor, operational data, all that good stuff. Where does CRM play a role? It kind of fits in the middle there. It's talking to the ERP, it's pulling out customer relationship information, it's engagement tracking, all that stuff. A good example, as we talked about earlier, with Salesforce. And then what is a marketing automation platform? Well, that's that whole behavioral data. That's a whole automated outreach and tracking and simplifying of processes for the sales team. And that's a program like, say, HubSpot. We work in multiple platforms. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But your platform is really key to be able to understand what is happening with that customer and how are they reacting to your messaging, and making sure that you're getting the right messaging to the right people. We talked a little bit about that in segmenting. So having that up-to-date ERP data flowing into the CRM, which is then also up to date by your sales guys and your relationship and your CSRs are making sure that's up to date as well, is really critical, so that when that information comes to the marketing automation platform, it's able to use that appropriately and then feed it back into the CRM so the sales guys can use it when they need to. So another strategy is building predictability in your pipeline, and particularly now, as you talked about, John, we're in a situation now where there's so much uncertainty. How can we build in some predictability into our marketing? Well, one of the quick ways we can do that is what we call A/B testing and database learning. So what we're doing is we're going out there, instead of just sending out blanket emails to everybody and hoping we see what resonates, we're doing testing of different messages to different groups, seeing what's resonating. With a marketing automation platform, we can track and measure exactly what resonates. And it can be something as simple as an offer. It could be something as simple as what the color of the button is on an email. But there's all kinds of things that we can test, measure, and track very, very quickly over a span of weeks, and know what is working best, so that we can then refine that messaging and then double down on it as we go. So it really, really improves results quickly. Lead scoring, and John, you and I have talked, had tons of conversations about lead scoring and how important it is to your organization with offices across North America. We don't have the time, Salesforce, salespeople, or the resources internally to go and talk to every prospect that shows a glimmer of interest in what we're offering. But we are able to track what they look at, how much of it they look at. Did they come to a webinar? Did they look at a video? Did they open a couple of emails? What content did they read? How much of that content did we read? We can track all that, so we have a pretty good idea before the salesperson ever does a follow-up conversation what that customer is interested in, what they're looking at, and where they kind of maybe are in the journey, so that when they engage that customer, they're not starting from scratch and asking a bunch of random questions. They're able to understand what that customer is interested in right from the minute they start talking to them. And a great example is aligning marketing with real-time operations. So, wrapping up a promotion of in-stock product. I'll give a really good example, and I think you've seen probably a lot of this with your customers. We had a customer that does electronics manufacturing for the Department of Defense and a lot of the military around the world. And before COVID, before COVID's saying nothing, but before the tariffs, they had a large inventory of product that the customers were starting to buy up from them prior to the tariffs hitting, because they were trying to get them shipped before the tariffs were taking place. Well, now that tariffs are in place, they used up a lot of their inventory, which is great, but now they know which inventory is being more tariffed and which one is not. They can double down on those products and start developing more of those products, get them back out the door again. But they can also tailor their marketing message to that, because there are certain products they are going to be behind on inventory wise. They are going to be behind on redevelopment, because they are waiting to see what happens with certain components and the cost of those components, and do they raise the price of their product to their customer, or do, as you said, eat some of that profitability and try to keep the costs similar. So they're able to make, while they're making those determinations, they can decide, okay, we're going to put this product out now because that product is available, it's onshored, and we can sell a lot of it. And that's where they tailor their marketing message, and they can do that and track that very quickly. So it avoids those bottlenecks, it avoids those production bottlenecks, and allows their production side of things using their ERP data to say, okay, we'll build more of this for now, we'll kind of park this, and we'll build these up and be ready to have these going again as soon as we kind of understand where we are with the tariff market going on right there. So that's really key part for understanding what you're doing and eliminating that guesswork. One of the things that we do, which I'm really finding fascinating with our industry now, is what we call ABM. It's not a newer, but it's really kind of being doubled down on in our industry right now, and that's account-based marketing. ABM basically is what we refer to as intelligent marketing. So think of it as, maybe you were doing a Google Ads campaign and blasting out a Google Ads message to hopefully everybody in the area that you wanted to see, and when they hit your ad, they clicked on it, and you hope you got the right people. ABM takes it to a way where you are now targeting specific customers that you want to go after. So if you are targeting, say, 100 customers, and you want to target there's 20 that are really high on your hit list, we can now target personalized content right into their various feeds. So it could be right into their email, it could be right into their LinkedIn profile, it can be right into their YouTube channels, whatever information we want. We can be targeting very catered content right into their feeds. And so now we're marketing to the one-to-one or one-to-few, instead of broad marketing to everybody. And we see that really generates a lot of interest from an awareness from those target markets, so that when a salesperson sees them reacting to a certain amount of content, they can have an engaged conversation with that customer, and the customer feels like they already know you before they've had a chat with you. They see that they've seen your content, they've seen a consistency of quality of information and quality of product. And so that when you're having a conversation with them or reaching out to them, there's a much lowering of barriers. There's an awareness of familiarity that's pre-built in or pre-baked into that conversation before you pick up the phone. And so we're doing that with a lot of customers right now that are especially when they have a niche product where they're trying to get into a certain amount of customers. They're not trying to sell widgets to everybody. We find that works really well. Takes a little bit of time because you have to build up that awareness within the customer's mind, but it's much more effective because you built up that kind of trust and familiarity already. So we recommend, an ABM campaign to companies that are having a database of 2,000, maybe 5,000 names, and they're trying to target down to the top 20% of that or top 10% of that, where they're really trying to niche their market and looking at trying to grow within those people, and their value proposition is very high with a certain high value customer. So here's an idea that these days of what a marketing stack looks like. And as with your slide, John, there with the pinwheel, we call it, you can see that it can be quite daunting. And so where Goose has been recognized is in our ability to strategize what the best way to develop a campaign is, and then use the proper tools under that strategy to execute those campaigns. And so this just kind of gives you an idea of all the different ways. And then from the marketing automation platform there in the lower green box, you can see all the things that marketing automation can tactically handle, everything from website tracking, list building, email campaigns, CRM integration, forms, dashboards, all of that reporting, which I'll speak to in a second, is absolutely critical. And I think one of the things that marketers, marketing managers, owners, presidents, CMOs all want to know is this working? The money I'm spending, is it working? Where is it working? And what, as we've talked about many times, I'll double down on something if it's working, and how do I know that it's working, and what's the result that we're getting for that? And so, the beautiful thing about marketing automation, you can get much more technical and specific data and specific reports on where you're going, customized reports on what's happening, and so that you can make informed decisions, just like you can with your ERP. You can make informed decisions about where you spend your marketing dollars, and where you allocate them in the sales process. Finally, I just want to talk a little bit about funding. So we in Canada, we're blessed to have some pretty good funding programs out there. John, I know you've implemented some of these programs for your customers as well. Obviously, there's Shred, IRAP. I know Can Export is dormant right now, but it will be brought back out. Can Export is for companies that are looking to market to export products and looking to market outside of Canada. And then the digital modernization adoption plan is a program in Ontario, the Ontario Center of Excellence, Center of Innovation, sorry, has a really great program for what we call digital modernization. And John, I think you've probably used that too for some of the Ontario customers, I believe, right?
We have extensively, Mike. Yeah. So when it comes to upskilling and training, as you said, thank goodness that Canada is as a federal and a provincial Ontario area, each province having, and each state in the U.S. having opportunities to upskill staff is really important. So we do this on both sides of the border.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I know with the DMAT program, you go through sort of a digital maturity assessment first, so that you get a really good report of just exactly where you stand, and then from that report, the funding can be applied to the areas that need attention, and we get involved there with applying things like CRM, marketing automation platforms, and those kind of other tools, even web development, that kind of stuff too. So very good opportunities for customers to save money, and then get their maturity level back up, as we talked about at the beginning of the program. The great opportunity out of this uncertainty can come certain great opportunities, and we saw that back during some funding efforts that were coming out during the COVID days 5 years ago. I know a lot of customers took advantage of those fundings back then and were able to bring their companies to a higher level that they've been struggling to get to. So I always think it's important to take these opportunities where you get them. So just a kind of a recap here, I think that one of the things that we're in agreement is that strategy first. I think when it comes to ERP, when it comes to marketing, I think it's strategy always has to be first. I think you have to sit down, have a conversation with senior management, have a conversation with people like us, so that we can give you some good ways of looking at things, and then make data-driven decisions. And if you don't have good data, make decisions that'll help you get that good data, because you really can't make further investments in your company unless you know what's happening and and understand where you are presently. I think also leveraging AI and modern technology. I mean, I know in ERP and Kinetic, there's a great deal of AI being involved in that whole process, John, right? I mean, Equicor's got a whole bunch of AI integrated into their systems now, right?
That's correct. Yeah. A lot of decision support tools around supply chain, and more are coming. As it
Yeah,
comes across that, again, data becomes into play. So the more accurate that data is, the more it can
yeah.
actually leverage.
Yeah, and we're finding too, we're finding AI being very powerful in a couple of places. One, analysis of campaigns, but also in content creation, very targeted content creation. Before, if we were trying to develop a content marketing campaign to attract visitors to a website, or to put into an email or LinkedIn campaign, you have to develop it, and it was always a struggle for customers to come up with content and work with them to develop that content. Now with AI, we can develop a list of 10 different topics that we think are relevant to that industry very quickly. And then AI can develop the content with some refinement from us and the specialty, or what we call SMEs, management executives in a company, subject matter executives in a company, that they can refine that content and then use it to drive traffic back to their site, or to drive traffic through a campaign. We also think, and I think you and I both drink the same Kool-Aid on this, John, that operations should always partner with sales. That like operational is, sales, operations, marketing often tend to work in silos, And we find that companies that are working together and communicating consistently with each other, they have the most success. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I definitely for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And then I would say data flowing through ERP, CRM, map, marketing automation platforms is key. And then if for investigating the appropriate funding, as we talked about, go out there and do your homework, look at what programs are available. There are, as you and I both work with, we both work with various funding associates or funding specialists that we can refer people to as well to help them get that funding and then help them implement it once it's acquired. And then get the support of senior management, anything you're gonna do. I think a lot of people that are watching this content, watching this webinar, maybe more on the marketing or operational implementation side, but it's super and critical that senior management be buying into this stuff. You can't work in a silo. You can't get things done without management being fully on board. And I think, like all the years that you've worked on change management, it starts from the top down. Like if you don't have support from the top down, then you're always going to be struggling.
It starts with a vision, and if working more efficiently is part of that vision, if integrating the business and touch points and reducing frustration around data and its source, there's so
Yeah,
many different levels. So it definitely starts from the top and drives through. So yeah.
right, terrific. And then continue to measure and refine. I think that's one of the last things I want to just say is that, we try to have conversations with our customers on a monthly basis, a minimum, from a reporting standpoint, so they understand where we are and stuff and what our next processes are. But with the platforms, both with ERP, CRM, and MAP, you can customize reports and be able to pull up reports very, very quickly. You don't have to wait for conversations. You can pull up those reports on a weekly, daily basis and really know where you stand on a regular basis. So it's really, really key that you have that information at your fingertips. Lastly, a little bit of information about Goose Digital. So we are one of Canada's largest digital marketing firms. We're based in Toronto, technically in Oakville. We have offices across Canada, one in Vancouver, one in Edmonton, and we also have a pilot office, a satellite office in Orlando, Florida. We also worked on platforms, everything from Acton, HubSpot, Marketo, SharpSpring, Marketing Cloud, and Salesforce, obviously, as well as we work in the industries from tech, finance, insurance, and manufacturing distributors. And then we specialize in underpinning marketing and marketing with investments for long-term strategy. So we've always been with our client. The average age of our clients now are 3 years. Like we have clients that have been with us for decades. So we're very proud of the work that we do, and we see the clients continue to come back and stay with us for many many years. John, you being one of them. You and I have had a relationship now since. Geez, I think it's been 7, 8 years now since CMTS when we first met. So many years ago, and so I think it's important that when you're delivering value, that customers understand that, and that they realize that you can trust it with their best interest at heart. So just our last little slide here, our offer is just anybody that's on the webinar today, and of course, if you're seeing this content later on, because we will be sharing it out on social media. We do offer a 1 hour free consultation in which we provide a mini roadmap, a marketing roadmap. And I know, John, you do consultation as well, where you have a review of their platforms and their situational analysis for them. So we can review John would review your ERP, we can review your CRM, your map status. And then we always like to identify 1 or 2 key campaign or operational opportunities that we can do to help and give you those ideas. So we're not about helping you react, we're about helping you understand what the situation is, and how it's relevant to you, and then how you can best strategize to address that situation and move forward and take advantage of the technology that's out there, and of course the funding that's out there. So that's John, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I think I would just say that, you may already have some elements of these tools, and I think, with a one hour meeting, it's just an opportunity to see how others might be doing things, how this doesn't have to always be around the brand of CRM. It could be integrated to just about any system. It's all about what results are you getting. And I think, Mike, that, your company does focus on results, as do we. And I think, the worst case scenario is we learn together with a prospective client, how we might be able to help them either now or into the future or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a great opportunity to understand what other companies are doing out there in their space, and how they're taking advantage of a more integrated, efficient model. So.
Exactly, exactly. All right. Well, is it, I've just put our Q&A slide. We did have one quick question from one of our people on our board here, just asking, where do you think sort of the best place to start when you're struggling with dealing with tariffs? So, John, what are your thoughts on that? Where's sort of the best place to start when you're going, these tariffs are driving me crazy. What am I going to do here?
Yeah, I think look at the compliance elements and understand its actual financial effect on you, and understand what perhaps you need to do about it. I mean, that's not just one thing, but it is related. So, cool heads prevail. Hopefully, cool heads will prevail with tariffs. But the reality is this is out of our control. And so we need to have a plan to say, all right, if this is our new cost base and we assess it, this is where we'll be. So I think just get ahead of the fear and the fear that can freeze you and actually start working on strategies to look for cost savings and offsetting those costs. And for many of my clients, it's possibly creating a new location in the U.S. or Canada to do some of that value add. But I think the place to start, understand your costs.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too, John. And I will say that on our side is that when we have a quick assessment of things, is we want to understand the quality, the value, and the up to date modernness of your data. How good is your data? How can we get it cleaned up? We can do that very quickly in most cases. It may take a month or something like that, but we can help customers get a handle on their data so that they can see what they have to work with, and then how to best target moving forward from there. Because I think that's where people tend to get, as you said, they freeze. All this is happening till they freeze. They don't know where to go. And I think the first thing to do is just have a conversation with the one or the two of us, and then let's have a look at what's going on so that we can understand what your situation is and kind of put to bed allay some of the fears and kind of put together a plan. I think when you take action, you put a plan in place, those fears can be kind of allayed, because at least we know we're doing something. We're not just sitting here waiting to see what the next thing that falls on us, right? So we're getting out of the way and we're moving forward. So that's great answer, John. Thank you. So just our contact information. This is mine, and this is John's. And of course, this slide deck will go back out to everybody. So we want to thank everybody today for attending, and we hope you got great value for your time. And we look forward to seeing you again. We'll be having Goose holds these webinars on a regular basis, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks again, John.
Thank you. Take care, Mike. Thanks, everyone.